Welcome back to another episode of our humble podcast. It's your host, GT. I got with me my amazing co-host, Christina. How are you today? You know I was going to ask.
It's raining.
It is raining.
It's raining. I was told to talk about the rain.
What?
Kaden told me
To talk about the rain.
Thinks I'm a news anchor.
That's funny.
I told him we were going to the studio to record.
You know,
He said, "You're going to talk about the rain?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah."
That's funny.
So it's raining
talking about
today.
the rain.
It's raining.
I just showed the kids yesterday the YouTube. The podcast is on YouTube.
Right.
And the kids are like, "Oh, you and Chrissy are on TV." They thought it was so cool. And I tried to like stunt with Kai this morning. She was like, "Yeah, I already know. Mom's already showed me." It's like, "Oh, okay."
It's hard to impress a now 15-year-old.
I mean, she's got videos on YouTube and everything.
They're so different.
Yeah, she's a star.
She's like, I was on YouTube before you were.
Right. Well, we have with us another amazing individual, Toccara. Super excited
Yes.
about having this chance. I noticed I say that a lot in the podcast. Super excited. But I
This is best
am.
words we have.
And he's just going to tell you, let's unpack that. Let's unpack. I saw a meme that said something about unpacking something. I was like,
Here we go again.
that's what I'm like, old therapist. Let's unpack that.
Let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's unpack that.
Right?
Yeah.
I need all the details.
Let's unpack. I'm good with it. Let's unlock. Let's go.
In the therapy world, though, it's usually like, like something real significant. They're like, well, let's unpack that. You could be like, oh, I don't like fruit on pizza. And he'd be like, let's unpack that.
I mean, you gotta be like traumatized to not like fruit on pizza.
I absolutely do not like fruit on
It's
pizza.
texture for me.
Pineapple
Texture
cold.
for me.
It's sweet.
is warm on the pizza.
But we mixing it with other stuff like meat and sauce. Yeah.
Who hurt you?
Let's unpack that.
Let's unpack that.
Just kidding. Side jokes. Anyway.
So I guess your icebreaker isn't going to be, what's your favorite pizza topping?
No. I actually had two, and I'm trying to figure out which
Just do
one.
both. You can break
Okay.
the ice twice.
Break the
You
ice
sure
twice.
can.
My first icebreaker is, what's your favorite book that you read?
Ooh.
Wait, you said what's your favorite book that you've read?
Yeah.
Like one book?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me
To narrow that down.
my
Right? You need a second
favorite.
favorite book.
You ready for me? The Four Agreements. You've ever heard of that?
For
The Four Agreements.
agreements.
So it's basically a book that's talking about 4 things that you agree to work on as an individual. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but it's a really great personal development book. It's a short read, which are my favorites.
Nice.
I don't like anything that's 592 pages. I'm not reading it. I browse, and whatever page it lands on, I'll read if it's that big of a book.
What?
But man, I'm a whole publisher, and I don't even encourage my people to write that big of a book. Like, people aren't gonna read it. That's a whole other thing. But the 4 agreements, and it's basically owning your thoughts, talking about knowing the power of your voice. It's really great for someone who may be kind of struggling with that personal development walk and understanding how important personal development is. And it's these, like, I'm impeccable. Like, how many times do we tell ourselves that I'm impeccable? Never. We're not taught those things. Let's unpack that, right?
Like that.
So it's a really great short read. So yeah, that's one of my favorite books. I pick it up pretty often and just kind of make myself more familiar with it, because you can read a book and still not master the book, because we have to,
for sure.
You can't master life, right? So
Right.
go back through a book and read some more. And yeah, that's one of my faves.
So, is it like lifelong agreements, or is it an agreement for a season?
Lifelong agreements.
It's just like affirmations.
Yeah, just things that we aren't taught that's in this book, and how to become a better you, which we're not taught that either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. The 4 agreements.
The 4 agreements.
Okay.
Yes.
So I feel like I kind of know the answer to this one,
Yes.
but fact or fiction?
Ooh, fact all day.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Okay. Just what's your favorite book? I figured that.
Yeah, fact all day. I'm a nerd. I'm a cute, classy nerd, but I'm a nerd. I love learning. I love growing. I love watching my growth, because it's really important to me as being a king's kid, knowing that you have things inside of you that have to grow. So why not put those seeds inside of myself and then just watching them grow? So in fact, all day. Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah.
They say that the best investment you can make is in yourself. So
All day long.
I love that.
Yeah.
We're always growing.
Always. Even when we think we aren't, we are. All the time.
All right, Toccara, I want to get it from your perspective, because I feel like when I ask, I always leave something out, but like your resume of creativity.
Oh my gosh. Not the resume. All right. So Toccara Nicole, aka the Identity Architect. I tend to work with Christian female entrepreneurs to live, unlock, and rediscover their purpose, helping them to build books, brands, businesses, and themselves. So I have my consulting and publishing company that's called VOS. VOS stands for Vault of Steel. My last name is Steele, but my brand name's Toccara Nicole. I wanted to be very mindful with the business that I was creating, that I was leaving a legacy and not tying my last name. I will tie my last name to it so I wouldn't hyphenate my name when I get married.
Right.
And God gave me VOS years before the business was started. Sometimes he'll give you something and you got to sit on it to let that thing marinate and mature before you just leap out there and do it. And so if you ever look at my logo, it's a vault with fire inside of it. And so God has called me to help these women to ignite their fires, to be all that they can be in God's lenses and with what God put in their vaults. Sometimes life causes us to forget the combination of the vault. Sometimes we forget that we are born with everything that we need. Sometimes we're distracted with rejection issues, abandonment issues, you name it. So my consulting company, I focus more on publishing these days. However, God is starting to skirt. Hey, you started with consulting. Let's go back to that. So really helping people to understand the importance of birthing what he gave you and how to monetize your genius in the marketplace. So I have my own apparel line, which is called Vault Life Apparel. If you ever see me wearing dope, directed on purpose every day, that's what that is.
Okay.
You know, God gives you those shower ideas and you got to hurry up and write it down before you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where that came from. And then my earrings came from a place of pain, and my grandfather transitioned. And 3 o'clock in the morning, I was YouTubing, and I started creating earrings. And so my earrings became a part of my brand as well. And then the last but not least, Dream Scribers. So I help the youth and incarcerated become published authors. So between the ages of 5 and 18 are our youth, and then anybody in the incarcerated population, we work with them to become published authors. It's a 12-week program. We're in cohort 4. Before I hopped in here today, we helped one of our little babies. His book is finally on Amazon. It's live, and he's 11. He's talking about game over for negative thoughts. That's the name of his book.
That's awesome.
And so he talks about, at 11, his journey of getting in trouble and wants to help other kids not get in trouble.
Nice. That's so innocent.
It's so, right? It's so innocent. But we're helping the kids, along with their parents, understand that they don't have to be a lawyer, they don't have to be a doctor, they don't have to be an engineer. They can be this creative, this genius. They can make a pathway with what they love. And so we help them to monetize their genius. We talk about entrepreneurship. This week, Jesus. This week we have a reporter coming on talking about all things communication and media, how to tie the two together. So we really walk them through a really an amazing program to help them to understand how dope they are at an early age. That's it.
That's it.
That's
A
all.
little bit.
That's a little bit, yeah.
Is that, you do this stuff full time? Do you have a full-time
No,
job?
I do have a full-time
Okay.
job. So my full-time job, I work with Lutheran Family Services as a regional supervisor. We have a program called the Fatherhood Initiative. We work with dads in the community, amongst those that are even incarcerated, helping them to become a better dad. So we help them with SMART goals, wraparound services. Maybe they need transportation, or they have legal issues, or they need a co-parenting class, or whatever that looks like. We have case managers. It's a whole statewide program, and even that's a story and journey on how I even got here. That's a whole book. Seriously. So yeah, I'm a regional supervisor of that program, and I carry a caseload too. And so it helps me because I'm my mom's only, but I'm the fourth out of 22 on my dad's side. So to go and work with I know.
I knew that.
What?
So yeah, that's a whole, tell you. Unpacking?
22, right?
22.
Let's unpack that.
Yeah, 22. Let's unpack that. Papa was a Rolling Stone. Where he laid his hat was a baby. That's how we're going to unpack that. That's how we unpack that.
There you go.
And leave it right there. And so that passion that I have for dads is because I wish my dad had that kind of program to really be able to be a better dad to his kids. My dad chose the streets, women, of course, drugs, the gangs, because he didn't have a dad. And so my dad's in prison for life. And so just really helping, that's my birth dad. Then I have my stepdad, who's my warrior. He's been in my life since I was 3. But there's that gap that men don't get as fathers, not just in Nebraska, but it's a nationwide problem. Moms have everything. They have all kinds of support programs. Dads don't.
So true.
And so we help them to really eliminate those barriers by providing them services that moms get 24/7, 365, that dads don't. And people are like, well, you're a dad, you don't matter. And so we're like, no, you do. You're not a deadbeat dad.
Love it.
And so helping them to educate them of walking them through their trauma so they can be better dads. So that's my full time.
Wow.
I love it. I prayed to God. I told him, because I took a 3-year sabbatical. God told me to focus on my business for 3 years. And during those 3 years, my grandfather died, my significant other, his mom died, and then my dad had a stroke. And so I was like the caregiver for 3 years while being able to work my business full time. And so I told God, I said, when it's time for me to go back to work, let it be something I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And here I am. So it'll be a year into next month. It'll be a year that I've been with Lutheran Family Services. And I absolutely love it. The work that we do, it's life-changing.
Oh, absolutely. It sounds like it.
Oh, I'm so passionate about it. God couldn't have blessed me with a better job. Fits in with my life.
Yeah, all the way.
To a T.
Right,
Yeah.
to a T.
He answers prayers. We just don't know how.
Right.
Yeah.
So you said a year. You've been in Omaha a year?
It'll be a year in December. They were so excited that I accepted the position. They mailed me my equipment.
Wow.
And then I moved 2 weeks later.
That's crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Did you get like a relocation package?
I didn't get a relocation package.
Okay.
But the crazy thing is that I applied to be the director of the program. And the lady was like, thanks, but no thanks. And God said, share your story. I'm thinking, all right, God, you do some radical things, but they just denied me of a job. What do I look like sharing my story? Share my story. Because as a publisher, I've written books about fatherless daughters and things of that nature. And I told them I was praying for the right fit for the director position. So after I sent that email, 11 minutes later, I got a phone call. And me and my feelings, I didn't answer it. I'm like, what are you calling me for? You don't want me to work for the, in my feelings. They left a message, called back. They said, I was led, these are her words, I was led to tell you why you didn't get the position. And so she said, in my 22 years of having my own staffing company, I've never received an email like yours. She told me what happened. She's like, blah, 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 da, 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 da. So this leaves a vacancy because basically they hired within. Are you interested in the vacancy? I'm like, sure, She's like, okay. Next thing I knew, I got an email, the job description, and the benefit package. I said, okay, God, you're funny. And at the end of her email, it said, welcome to Omaha. The rest is history.
The rest is history.
Just
That's
like
awesome.
that. So when you pray to God. He does answer. He has a weird way, wonky way of answering prayers at times, but I'm in what I wanted to do. And now that I'm doing this work, God is reminding me of the prophecies that he's told me on what I'm supposed to be doing in this lane. Crazy, I know. It's a book, I'm telling you.
Huge. So many different directions, the vastness of your life that we can start trying to
That's just a fraction.
unpack.
Yeah,
Oh, gosh.
it's just a fraction.
Right?
Yeah, I have an extensive real estate background. I mean, God is amazing. When he places you in different positions, there's puzzle pieces that he leaves you with to help you build the bigger picture. That's what I look at it as.
I like puzzles.
I kind of do.
I don't.
All right, so let's rewind
Yeah.
and get a little bit of your history before Omaha.
Ooh.
So, were you born in Chicago?
All right, so outskirts of Chicago in a little town called Frankfort, Illinois. Every time I would tell people, oh, I'm from Frankfort, they would immediately say Germany or Kentucky. So
Yeah, I was thinking.
yeah, so I'm like, you know what? Let's just help everybody and just say I'm from Chicago, which
Right.
where I was born and raised, it's about a 45-minute drive into Chicago, so it's not that bad of a drive on a good day.
I was going to say, that's Chicago traffic.
Where you're not dealing with Chicago traffic. Yeah. So Frankfort, Illinois, born and raised, went to a huge school. I was the only black thing in the school for years. And my next door neighbors were members of the KKK. I remember that growing up. Yeah, it was horrible. You know, you see these things in history books, but to actually live it, you know, every day.
They're burning crosses in people's yards
Burning,
and all that.
just ours.
Oh, yours.
Ours,
Dang.
swastikas, you name it, in our yard. We had to literally put cameras on our house to monitor their activities. We had to put up a privacy fence because when we would have company, they would be obnoxious. So we literally sued them. They had to pay us $375,000 or move. They moved.
Wow.
And the neighborhood was a better place.
I can imagine. Yeah.
But growing
There goes the neighborhood.
There goes the neighborhood, like literally.
Literally.
But, you know, that experience taught me so much. It taught me color is real, but it's not. And when I tell people as a black woman that I don't see color anymore, sometimes black people are offended by that. I had to make that decision at a young age because of the things that I went through, and being called the N-word repeatedly, or being called a black porch monkey. I remember that.
What?
Or riding my bike down the street and them chasing me. Like, it's just those things. And I had to make the decision at a very young age. Am I going to be prejudiced or not? And I chose not to be, because I saw the other side. I saw other Caucasian people treating me like they loved me. Like my babysitter was a Caucasian woman, and her husband was Italian. And me not having a dad, he acted as if he was my dad. We would want, you know, when you ride bikes around the corner, you don't want anybody following you. He was following us, but I was like, why are you always following us? But I understood later on that was what a dad does. He makes sure that his kids are okay. There was times where my mom would drop me off early and I would lay on his chest and fall back to sleep as a little girl. Like, he really showed me what a dad looks like. So how can I not be the one that's like, oh, they're white, they're bad? Like, that wasn't my experience.
Right.
So for some black people, that is their experience all the time. That wasn't my experience. So I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood. My graduating class was 1,057 kids. Out of 1,057 of us, I think it was like 6 black kids.
That's crazy.
I didn't see my first African-American black teacher until I went off to college. I didn't know how to even interact with my own race until I went off to college, because I didn't see it much. And then interracial dating was a whole new thing for me. Like, I didn't understand it at first until I made myself understand it. I had those conversations, and that's when I was living in the dorm, And here I am having those conversations. Then there was this white kid who was so country, lived in like a little town, was a hunting boy. And he was asking us questions about race as, from the Black person's perspective. So he's like, well, you guys aren't how you seem in movies. And so we had, and we were like, dude, what do you mean? So it was
What movies is he watching?
What movies was he watching, right? And so we had to learn how to interact with each other.
Right.
And by the end of the school year, he was taking Black kids home to go hunting, and they would come and would talk about their experiences. So, my college life really, I know, right, allowed for me to really marry my experience together to really be able to help me, who even I am now. I mean, some Black people get really mad when I say I don't see color. I choose not to. I see people for who they are.
It's a choice.
It is definitely a choice, like any other decision we make. So, yeah.
Where'd you say you went to college?
U of I, University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign.
And your major?
Oh, gosh. We didn't think I was going to graduate. I changed my major so many times. My mom was like, are you going to ever graduate? I'm like, listen, don't I have to take care of you one day? Because I'm her only. She was like, yeah. I'm like, let me figure this thing out. So she thought I lost my mind when I wanted to play with cadavers. I did forensics for a little bit.
What?
It was so fun. It was so fun.
One of my aunts did that.
Really?
It was. It's fun. And she was like, I did not send you out to school to play with dead people. What are you thinking? Anyways, so I graduated with a bachelor's in liberal arts and science because I had so many credits. But my master's degree is in management. And if I ever go back to finish my PhD, it'll be organizational leadership. I'm like, all I got to do is write a dissertation. But I stopped. I asked God, can I work on my entrepreneurship walk? And he said, yeah. So here I am. Yeah.
How long, where were you in life when you, really found your life vision, your passion?
My 30s.
Yeah.
My 30s for sure.
It's after you're done in school.
Oh yeah, my 30s. Because I thought I was going to be a lawyer and eventually a judge. That was what I always told anybody. You ask me, I'm going to be a lawyer and eventually a judge. And they're like, why? I'm like, I love arguing with people.
There you
go. I love getting my way. And so it was my 30s. I remember it actually. I had a car accident that year. And then my dad was finally incarcerated for life that year. And then I had lost my job. It was boom, 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 right after each other. And I became suicidal and tried to take my life because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know who I was. And it was just too much. It was overwhelming. The car accident that I was in, I hit a guy and he actually died. And so it was just too much. I'm like, this is too much to figure out. Why am I even going to try life? And I tried to commit suicide. And I'm thankful it didn't work. I wouldn't be here.
Me too.
Right? But it was that moment where it didn't work. So I said, okay, God, you have me here for a reason. Help me figure it out. And so I remember getting a prophetic word that I was going to get a job where I was going to be able to work from home. And I did. And here I am almost 8 years later working in social services and love it. So God is very strategic in all that he does. You never know where you're going to end up. You think it's going to be one place. You can tell me in a million years that I'd be in social services. That is not what I thought. But I love what I do. I love helping people. It's my love language. And God has given me stories to be able to help people understand who they are. Hence the identity architect, helping other people figure out who they are. And so, yeah, you just never know where you're going to end up. And it's definitely not, I'm going to be 25.5 and I'm going to have 2.4 kids and I'm going to be married. That is not it.
I mean, it works out for some people. They have their idea, they find it young, and, they spend their life chasing it.
And then you have most people where that is not it.
It's not the case, right?
And
there's so much pressure to have it figured out early.
Yeah.
You got to be 18 and know what you're going to go to school for. And
part.
I feel like entrepreneurship had 10 years ago even was just it wasn't I feel like technology and it has kind of grown hand in hand sort of.
Yeah.
Where we've talked about this where colleges I'm not going to actually put it on the podcast because I
Listen,
don't want people to be discouraged.
I
from
got
college.
you. Listen,
But-
college is not for everybody.
It's not for everybody, you know, but
No.
at the same time, we've had the discussion where it's like his perspective is more so that college is like making doctors, lawyers, blah, 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 blah. But I'm like, actually, like, there's so much to do in college that's like not those like stereotypical, I don't even want to use that word, college job. Like, but you can do so many things now through college and not that you couldn't before, but just like being an entrepreneur, like, was kind of like your mom, what are you doing? Like, you're in college, come on,
gosh.
you know, and that's kind
Yeah.
of how it was. Like, you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, being an entrepreneur, like, there's so many people already doing so many things that
Yeah.
it's like, you can be one of like a million doing this
Seriously.
one thing, or like to be courageous and just like do your own thing and like make this new path, you know, is like scary and also unheard of. So people don't even know about it until someone else does it. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing about entrepreneurship is because no one else has done it. And what God continues to show me is I'm the trailblazer for my family. My mom and I used to get in extensive conversations about me being an entrepreneur. My grandma understands it now. My mom still doesn't get it.
Yeah.
Like I just got back from Philly speaking at a women's conference. All she wants to know is, did you make it safely? And did I get a shot glass? Because she collects shot glasses from every city.
That used to
You
be
know,
me.
you know what I mean? So she still doesn't get it. And I used to be really sad and depressed that my mom didn't understand her only child. Yet what I had to understand that there's such a generational gap between the generations and what we now believe in. And so my mom's beliefs are totally different than mine. And all I can do is continue to do the work and so she can see how things are. That's all I can do.
There you go. Well, we're going to have to end this episode.
All right.
Before we
can
go,
unpack it
can
in
you
part
drop
2.
your contact info?
Yeah, I'm easy. Follow me on Instagram at the number 2 because everyone jacks my name up. So the number 2, Cara, Cara _Nicole, and that's Instagram. Facebook is I am Toccara Nicole, all one word.
What's Toccara? 2 C's, 1
T,
R?
yeah, that's a whole nother story. Toccara. So I am Toccara Nicole. That's Facebook.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. This has been part 1 of our interview with Toccara. Thank you for being here.
I'm excited. Let's go.
This has been awesome.
Thank you.
Looking forward
Yes.
to getting into part 2.
Let's get it.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to our Humble Podcast. We'll see you again soon. Welcome back to another episode of our Humble Podcast. Why are you laughing at me? I'm your host, GT, and that voice you hear laughing at me is my co-host, Christina. What's so funny?
It's just how you like, you're on, you're like, and welcome back.
Well, let's get this show on the road.
All right. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm really good. It's like been a productive day. Excited about our interview, and yeah, I actually was working on getting some of the old episodes up on Facebook today, so we'll have that as another source for people to check out the podcast. Which, by the way, if you're not following us on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, it's Our Humble Podcast, and yeah, just go check us out. So our guest today is Toccara, back for the second part of her interview, and wow, the first part was amazing. It's a lot to unpack and digest.
Oh,
Here we go.
and
We're gonna bring it back. Yep.
It went so fast.
It
Yeah,
did.
for real.
You know, like when somebody talks too much under the table and you like kick them to be like, be quiet.
Stop.
I do that when I'm like, we're getting close to time because we don't like to go over because we do that a lot.
We tend to.
alone.
And so like I was just like, usually it's like a minute where I do it and I looked over, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like 16
Right?
I was wondering why you were kicking. I was like, okay, that's her signal. I wish I had a signal, but no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the clock right there.
That's supposed to work. It doesn't all the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's supposed to work for both parties, and so sometimes it just doesn't, especially if they get really caught up in it.
Right.
And I try to give them hints. I'd be like, okay, we're in the last 5 minutes of, okay, we're in the last 3 minutes of the show. Okay, we got the
Oh,
last.
that's smart. Okay.
And then they'd be like, still, I'm like, don't you know we're wrapping up me?
Yeah.
Like, And cut.
I just like abruptly, all right, we're gonna end this episode.
I know, cause I'd always feel bad. It's like usually in a good part too, and then you'll be like, all right.
That makes them want to come back.
You know what
I would
I
hope
also
so.
do? I do like, you know what, we're going to have you come back for another show. And they'll be like, oh, okay. I could tell
We were literally just talking about that during the break.
Yeah.
So for those viewing who don't know, Toccara is actually a host of a show on the same station, KPAO. What is your show called?
Yeah, it's called What's the Real Deal with Toccara Nicole.
Right.
Yeah, so just bringing people in. You know, we see people at Walmart, Target, everywhere, but what's their backstory? We don't have enough time to really capture that. And so that's what the show's all about, just digging a little bit, giving people a little snippet of who people really are. We see them on Facebook, we might like and love, and we don't know nothing about them. So, yeah.
Sounds like a similar mission to our show.
Yeah.
We just want to sit people down and get to know them, have a little conversation.
Yeah.
Where do you get your guests from?
Man.
Target and Walmart. Were you listening?
You know what? Since I haven't been in Omaha for so long, I'm looking at what people are doing, and if I'm really intrigued by it, I'm like, let's have a sit down on the couch. And so we just wrapped up my first season. Super geeked for that. Thank you. And so I have my own TV network, so I plan on uploading those now to the TV network. And so really, it flew by. Really does, really quick.
Does.
But just to be able to capture people's stories. So it's, like I said, someone that's interesting, you know. I don't know how I'm going to do the two of y'all at the same time. I think I'm going to have to do one of you guys at one time and the other at the other.
You should totally do that.
Yeah, I think I will. She's like, whatever. But I have someone who's like really excited about being on the show, and she's, to me, she's a celebrity. I'm not gonna say who, but there's legacy within the Omaha community because of her and her family, and so I'm a nerd, man. I love stories, and I think that's also me being the publisher and helping people birth their stories. I can listen to someone talk all day long, just because it's intriguing. It's also inspiring. So yeah.
Absolutely. I like the format. I like the format of our show. I like the format of your show because you can be kind of spontaneous with who you bring in.
Oh yeah.
For us, we have like a specific pool that we're pulling from right now. It's the.
Oh wow! I feel special.
You are.
All right. Cool.
Right. Our mission.
We're just putting them out. From the pool.
We want to get the stories of the people in the One Kingdom Collective before we branch out.
That's cool.
Yeah, we did have to pull someone that wasn't in the network because someone else wasn't able to make it, which Nathan Romanik, thank you, brother. He came in clutch. And it was like a really good conversation, too.
Yeah.
We talked about AI and trying to take over the world.
Yeah, that part. I'm not there yet. I'm so not there yet.
Not at all.
Yeah, I'm like, it's called artificial intelligence for a reason.
His was like, he was someone that was just like very, I feel like there's people that like, they have their like, you know, what they do, and it's very specific and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you have people who just do like all
Lots
the
of different
things,
stuff.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how his interview was too. Like he did talk about like AI, talked about the Shield backpacks,
Oh, yeah.
it was just all kinds of stuff.
Crazy.
Got to check it out.
Yeah.
About the knowledge. I think it was our second episode.
Okay,
season
cool.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, check that out.
I love what you guys are doing. I mean, there's not enough of us actually getting the backstory of why people do what they do.
Yeah.
It's really important. I think that's what helps us support someone even the more, knowing how our stories may collide, or I can see your perspective, or I don't know what the heck you're doing, and I like what you're doing. You know, so it's either one of the two.
Yeah. It was two people in the network that, like, just hearing about stuff that they do, it's like, I didn't know you did that. Oh, I didn't know you did that.
Yeah.
Like, we should just sit down and talk
Have a
about
combo.
it.
Yeah.
And then also, I want to have this as like a stamping point of where you are in life right now.
Sheesh.
And then 5 years from now,
My
we'll
God.
come back and, well, we're going to have you back like next season.
Don't make me shout up in here. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, God's doing so many things. It's, you blink and somebody's in a new place, and so
Right.
better hold on to these connections you got.
I think like it's cool that there's like the Oprahs and the Ellens and like those people.
Yeah.
Great. I also love that there's people that interview just the people from Walmart and Target, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think she literally meant.
I
she's
know
finding
she
people.
didn't
Okay.
literally mean it, but I
The
literally
manager.
mean.
Guess what? There are some
Of the
times where I
neighborhood.
don't know people from Adam and I hear a snippet of their story and I'm like, let's talk. Let's have a conversation. And especially here in Omaha, even me being here my short time span, there's a lot of hidden gems here that just
big
don't get
time.
the spotlight. And so I kind of find those people that, you know, aren't too big, but yet they need a stepping stone and people need to know who they are because they're on their way.
You said a whole bar there, and you kind of triggered me. I remember the first time I was in Chicago. I went there for the Legacy Conference. It's like a Christian discipleship conference.
Oh, cool.
And it's like heavily centered around Christian hip hop. And I'm telling people I'm from Omaha, like went to open mics and everything, and they're like, "There's black people in Omaha?"
Listen, don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on that. I'd be like, Malcolm X was,
From here, right?
you don't know that?
Oh.
It's frustrating. Our black people, you gotta do better. Just saying.
I feel like that happens everywhere. Anytime we go out of town and you go, like, the new goal is to perform at an open mic. And when people, even just how people say Omaha, I'm like, don't say it like that.
I know. That's how it was when I was
All
in
the
Philly.
way from Omaha. Like, no, just say it.
Just say Omaha. When I was in Philly this past weekend, people were like, "You're from where?" I live in Omaha, Nebraska. Like,
Yeah.
for real. And then they get the look on their face. I'm like, there's plenty of African Americans in Omaha, Nebraska.
There's not just cornfields.
It's not. It's not.
As soon as you say Nebraska, people are just like, oh, so you got a farm? Like, not yet.
They think that, or for the longest, my mom was like, "Oh, you're going to Oklahoma?"
Right.
I'm like,
My grandma.
No, Oklahoma is its own state. Like, never mind, Mom. We're not gonna have a geology conversation. Like, we're just not.
Yeah, my dad used to tell me I was going on hayrack rides with farmers. Like, I mean, I don't think I actually have, but you can.
Yeah, you can. They're fun.
Right? The pumpkin patch.
Yeah, the pumpkin patch. That's what we know.
Right? But it's entertainment. It's not like that's our means
That's
of
how you get to
transportation.
town to buy your batteries.
Right?
There's some people. But, yeah.
But I kind of made that like part of my mission to like help put on for Omaha.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where the vision for like the school came from, that we want to be able to like pour into the arts here and help people to have a bigger platform.
It's needed.
Be able to share their voice
Yeah.
outside the community and just kind of create some awareness for the arts in Omaha.
Major.
As healing as the
super
arts
important.
is, the arts is always the one that gets the cut.
I know. It is. It's crazy. Yeah. You said a whole lot right there.
Right?
Yeah. I just took my daughter up to Kearney, what was it, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
I forgot.
Right?
Yeah, it's 2 weeks ago.
No, I'm sorry about the chair.
That's so funny.
I know, I'm like, I'm taped. It's fine. And for a vocal competition, and her pianist for the competition was telling us that Kearney is like, they're having some funding issues and like, oh, you know, the arts. And I'm like, it's always the arts. It's always the arts. It's like, we can't afford it. We can't afford the art. I'm like,
Definitely got to change it.
yeah.
Yeah. I was walking through the airport in Philly yesterday and nothing but artwork as you're walking down the terminal.
Like murals and paintings.
Murals, yarn artwork. It was just so cool.
That's awesome.
Pottery.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is what I'm talking about in the airport where
That's
there's
amazing.
thousands upon thousands of people who walk through here and able to, you know, stop and see. They had rocking chairs that were made out of yarn. It was the coolest
That's
thing.
cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm that type of nerd. Like, give me arts and culture, it's a wrap. That's my thing.
Are you an anime?
No, definitely not.
Can't call yourself a nerd if you don't like anime.
Not.
You can be a nerd and not
No.
like.
I
Yes, you can.
cannot get with anime. I've tried. I am like, no, it's not for me. If you want to talk about cartoons, give me the Flintstones, give me the Jetsons, give me Scooby-Doo, give me something like that, and I can rock with that all day. Even give me Dexter's Laboratory. He was a nerd.
Dexter is nice.
Yeah, or
like
the Rugrats. Like, give me the old school.
His mission is like, I have to find an anime that you like so that we can watch anime together. And I'm like,
There's so many different kinds.
Yeah.
It's art, and there's so many different expressions.
I'm
You
like,
can watch fighting, you can watch romance, you can watch racing, like all of it, the whole gambit.
I'll exit
Anime's
stage left.
dope.
Exit stage left. Bow gracefully out.
It's like, how about this one? I'm like, no. How about
No.
One day
This-
we'll find one.
So you say.
Maybe. We'll see. As T would say, this is a hill I will die on. We're going to find an anime
Oh my God.
that we can watch together.
This mission.
Well, so I wanted to ask in our first interview, it seems like stories are really important to you.
Yes.
Why?
It's how you get to know a person. It's like a connection. It's like a magnet. You get to figure out who a person is, and it gravitates you to that person by understanding who they are and their story. A lot of times people are ashamed of their stories, where they should just be really proud of the fact that they're at a place where they can tell them.
Yeah.
Because if you weren't at a place where you can tell them, then 9 times out of 10, the healing hasn't taken place. And so when you heal, you grow. And when you grow, you explode. Like, there's so many things that you can do once you're growing, and get to that place where I'm okay with talking about it. And so whether it's me talking about being a DV survivor, a fatherless daughter, you name it, I don't care anymore. If I know my story is going to help someone else heal, I'm all about sharing it, even if it's just one person. Unpack that. Go ahead.
How many books have you written?
12.
Okay.
12.
Oh,
Working
wow.
on 13. 13 will be out in January. I get, as a publisher, a lot of people ask me, where do I start with the writing process? So I just did the book cover last week. I can't believe I'm getting ready to share, but it's basically 5 elements to help people write their book, and it's basically from concept to chapter 1. Because if you can get to chapter 1, you can get to chapter 9. So it's just starting, which a lot of people say they want to write a book, but only 2% of people actually get to the finish line.
Yeah.
So helping people to really understand how powerful book writing is, that's it. Because telling your story. So that's the next book. It should be out end of January. That's the goal.
I think the process of writing a book is kind of intimidating for some people.
It can be. Everyone has a secret sauce when it comes to writing a book. Your book is not going to look like the next person's book, as it shouldn't, because your story doesn't look like the next person's story. So it's just helping people to figure out the format of how they want to share their story. Some people do diary entries, which I think is a really great way to share your book, your story, because it's easy. It's just a diary entry.
Yeah.
I tell people journal first before they start writing a book with me if they have no clue of where they want to start, because God's in all the details. He will literally drop it while you're journaling. I call it throwing up on paper. Like, literally just throw up on paper. Just get it out. And once you start seeing like a recurring theme, you'll figure out where to start. So that's a snippet of what's going to be in the book too. But everyone has a story. It's just a matter of you making the decision to share it. That's it.
That's great. Sorry. I saw your ring and like got distracted for a second. Is that what I think it is?
I wear it to get myself ready. It's a
Okay.
reminder of the path that we're on.
Gotcha.
And having something on this hand, because normally I don't, and I do this, I fidget. And so if I keep something on there, it's actually working too. Like, I don't leave the house without it. And that's how I want it to be when I do get married. I don't want it to come off. So no, it's not the official.
Okay.
It's just a placeholder, so I can kind of get familiar with what it feels like to have one. Sounds crazy, but it's not.
No, it makes sense.
There's a method to my madness.
For sure.
It's working, because a couple months ago, I'm like, do you have a problem with me wearing this on this hand? He's like, nope. I was like, okay, good. As long as you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it also is I love it, because when a guy's trying to holler at me, I'm like,
Built-in
so
deterrent.
they can see it. And it works really
Nice.
well. So,
that's good.
yeah, I just, instead of me being brutally rude, like, it's like,
Nice. Just a little subtle curve.
I'm a hot mess, I know.
I got to thinking about that from hearing, you were talking about the writing process and writing it down and throwing it up on paper.
Yeah.
And it was really Tim that helped me to see the value in writing your vision and your dreams down.
Yeah.
I still do not do the best job of it, but I try,
Yeah.
And somehow that got to, the stories. I don't know, somehow that connected in my brain. But
It's a good connection. I mean, the way that I met him is crazy. But I was paying, Jesus, to sit underneath someone else's mentorship quarterly, flying from Chicago to New York and spending the time to actually get these nuggets. He was a millionaire, brilliant at what he does. But I wasn't able to connect it until I met him. And so when I say I'm Toccara Nicole, I'm the identity architect, and I work with Christian female entrepreneurs to live, unlock, and rediscover their purpose, that's my vision statement. And it's opened doors for me because I memorized it, I committed it to memory. And at the time when I was talking about, it's actually VOS Consulting International. And during COVID, I've actually been on international stages from Europe to the UK to Africa.
Wow.
By actually, thank you, it's all him, by reciting what I believed, which was my vision statement. So when I say that, I'm literally attracting, sometimes we get that all confused, that's a whole nother show. Manifesting, attracting what it is that God has for me, not with, magical, spooky words, that's a whole nother. People have taken the word of God and made it something else. But that's, when I say manifest, I'm talking about what God has for me, manifesting. Like Holy Spirit, not the Spirit. That's a whole nother conversation.
Okay.
You know what I mean? People say, oh, the Spirit. No, if you're not saying Holy Spirit, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right. That's some other spirit.
That's some other spirit. I don't want to play with none of them. I don't
Not
want to
at
play
all.
with the ancestors either. Let them be where they at.
Right. Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. We'll have to talk about that a little more later.
Yeah.
I definitely, that's something I've been hearing and thinking about recently, and
Yeah.
would appreciate some perspective.
Knowing who you are is a game changer. It's something that I wrote in my 6th book. And I hold true to that. When you know who you are, you know what path to walk on. You know if you go to the right even a little bit, that's a danger zone if you know who you are. So your vision will pull you back into alignment and keep you walking that straight path. I encourage everybody to have a vision statement for their lives. It's really God's protection, and it's Him leading you into the places that He has already ordained for you to walk. But you have to believe in the vision. You have to write it down, make it plain, recite it, give it to Him, and allow for Him to really direct your path. That's what we don't want to do. We don't want to trust God for real. We like holding on to stuff.
Out of control.
Yeah, I mean, we mess with what God has and mix it with what the world says that we're supposed to do and have. And so when you really trust God with all your heart and let Him lead you and not lean on the crutch called understanding, because that crutch will break and you will be on the floor.
Right.
It's not your understanding, it's His. And so that's been my go-to scripture since 2020. He took me through some things. And when I get ready to do a Toccare thing, He's like, there you go again. Your understanding, you really want to end up on the floor so I can just pick you back up. And so sometimes we have to hit the floor to understand the pathway. But I'm telling you, a vision statement, my whole business has shifted because I have a vision statement. There's people I don't work with because it's not in alignment with the vision. I can't deviate outside of that. When I do, things happen that shouldn't happen. So I'm straight and narrow.
Stick to the book.
Oh, heck yeah. I get tired of being whooped. I don't,
Right.
no.
It hurts.
It hurts. It leaves scars, Yeah. Yeah, no.
Where'd you get your motivation, your inspiration for your first book?
Man. So the
What
first
got you
book.
started writing?
Ooh. All right. You asked 2 really amazing questions. So let's go how I started. I wasn't a bad kid, but when I was a bad kid, my mom would send me to my room. And I had this beautiful diary that I thought actually locked, but it didn't. You know, it has like the skeleton key. You think, oh, it's locked. My mom can't read it, whatever. Yeah, right.
The little tiny silver
The
one.
little tiny one, and you know, oh, cool.
Oh, there's like the switch.
You know.
Yeah, where you just have to pull hard on the lock and pop it open.
And you're not thinking that when you're 7, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So when my mom would send me to my room, I would really write about her first and how she just made me mad, woo, woo. And then it would turn into creative works, and I didn't know what it was when I was 7. So I would rhyme. I had poetry. Like I can write. I just don't like to go to an open mic and read what I write. I can do it.
Put your finger down.
So it started into that, and then my mom had this rule that before I did anything, I had to read for 30 minutes. Oh, it was horrible. But it taught me discipline, and it taught me that I actually like reading. And so reading and writing go together. And so I would just write. Like when I felt like my mom would make me mad, or my grandma, because I grew up in the house with my grandparents and my mom, I would write. And so my writing has always been with me since the age of 7. God showed me back in 2014. That's when I did my first book. It was called, oh God, don't even remember, because it was a flop. That's what I thought. So the book never made it to anybody's shelf. The Reinvention Project, When Failure Speaks. That was the name of the project. Failure spoke, because the book didn't go anywhere. Right. But what God did was, he's like, remember what the editor told you. And I was like, oh, yeah, whatever. So the editor of the project was like, Toccara, how long did it take for you to write your chapter? Because it was an anthology, which is a book full of authors writing their chapter on a certain title or chapter or whatever. And mine was talking about relationships and the ebbs and flows of relationships. She's like, how long did it take for you to write this? I'm like, 72 hours. She was like, are you serious? I was like, yeah, I just sat down and it just came out. And then God reminded me of when I was 7, and I connected the dots, and I've been writing ever since. So I started my authorship journey as an adult when I was in 2014, and up to 13 books will be next year.
Wow.
Most of them are anthologies, which I love.
So I was trying to do the math.
It's
That's
almost
less than 10 years.
It's like a book a year.
Yeah.
Almost. But during the pandemic, I wrote 3 because I was bored. But what I learned was I have this art for writing, and then God took it back to even in English classes. I remember my 7th grade English teacher. She was like, your writing is amazing, but you need to use different words. So my smart bud took the thesaurus.
I was about to say.
She's like, change the word. I took the word. And you know the thesaurus has like has multiple meanings. I was like, oh, that one. And she's like, okay, you applied what I told you, but you didn't.
Literally. I did. As soon as you said that, I was like, man, I was that kid that was just like, thesaurus, erase random words to make it look good. And then you're like, here.
Yeah, ta-da. And I remember I call it the sea of red, and I still call it the sea of red for my clients. Because when I would get my, the writings back, I'd be like, that's so annoying. And so I tell my clients, don't allow the sea of red to make you stop. The sea of red is to protect you and guide you as an author. And that's what it is. It brings correction so you can publish your work. Sea of red.
I like it.
Thank you.
I like it. It's like the red text in the Bible.
Yeah. Ooh. I'm not going that deep.
I worked with a teacher once that refused, like she used a purple because she said like red was, I'm like.
Triggering.
Can be.
But it can, but I'm like, whether it's red or purple or green, like it's still something that you need to correct.
Correct.
Like.
Yeah. Who likes correction though?
Not it.
Right.
Not it.
Yeah, I doubt it does.
Yeah.
So there's so much more that we can and need to talk about, but we're running out of time for this episode.
Okay.
Anything else you want to say in the last 45 seconds?
Man. So knowing who you are as a game changer, I think that's really important. Don't allow you to be the biggest barrier when it's time to go. I think sometimes we get in our heads and we don't want to pursue what God has given us, but if he's given it to you, he's going to make a way. And so really to trust on that and dare to be different. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being different. I'm different in so many ways where I had to learn to embrace it. And so embrace your different and just run. Stop acting like you don't have what it takes to do it, because you do. Especially if you're a kingdom citizen, you got it. So stop. Yeah, that's what I got.
Nice. Can you drop your contact one more time?
Yes. So Instagram is the number 2, Cara_Nicole. And then on Facebook, it's I am Toccara Nicole. Toccare is long. My mom named me after her favorite Avon perfume in the 80s.
Good old Avon.
Good old Avon.
With the red lid. Hey, there's that red back.
See? You know all about that. I do too.
Y'all are funny. Well, thank you for tuning in to Our Humble Podcast. It's been another great episode.
Thank you, guys.
And a really cool interview.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Anytime.
I'm glad we were able to get you on the show. So, looking forward to part 2 or
Part 4,
number 2.
3,
Yeah, right.
whatever.
Interview. Anyway, the numbers are not just adding up.
Until next time, America.
We'll see you guys next time.